What it do, bruh? Talk of the town, Nintendo, Doc Trey, still holding it down, still make the best games, and you know this, bro. It's the truth. You don't like it, you can have that seatbelt.
So the doctor strikes again. So this is yet another example why, if you are into Nintendo content, especially Nintendo Switch 2 content, you should definitely be subscribed to this channel. Unless, of course, you like being behind the curve. But if you like being ahead of the curve and you like being knowledgeable on all things Nintendo and knowing about things quite a bit before everyone else, definitely hit that subscribe button. So today, it was just confirmed by a publisher that Nintendo actually is coming out with multiple Switch 2 cart sizes. And a couple days ago, it was rumored from Nintendo that they heard that there are smaller capacity Switch 2 game cards in production and that they would be smaller size than the current 64 gig cards that we have now. And then today, we got confirmation that there will be two more smaller cart sizes coming from Nintendo that Nintendo, I guess they actually officially announced to these publishers yesterday. So if we had to guess going by history, it's probably going to be a 16 gig and a 32 gig, which would come in handy for the 16 gig will definitely come in handy for a lot of the indie developers, and the 32 gig will come in handy for a lot of the developers that are making third-party games for Switch 2 that aren't necessarily large file size games, especially games that are ports of, PlayStation 4 games in that era, those type of games, and just games that don't have a big file size in general. But I want to go back and show you guys clips of the video in question where I was kind of describing exactly what's going on here. So let's check that out. So two of the biggest areas for concern regarding the Nintendo Switch 2 seem to be the third-party dev kit distribution situation, or lack thereof, and also, of course, game key cards. Now, what if I told you that the two of those could be directly related to each other? I'm starting to think that maybe, just maybe, the real reason why Nintendo is being reluctant and being very picky about how many dev kits they send to these developers and publishers right now is because they see the reaction to the game key. They see that most Nintendo fans don't care for game key cards, and a lot of Nintendo fans are claiming that they will refuse to buy any game keys. So if you see that this reaction to game keys, which honestly, even before the Switch 2 launch, I'm sure that Nintendo knew that there would be some kind of negative reaction to game keys, because they know that Nintendo owners in general like to own physical copies of games. Like more than any other fan base, Nintendo gamers like to own physical media. So they had to know that this was coming. Now, did they expect the reaction to it to be to this point? Maybe not, but they had to have expected it. Which brings me to my point. If Nintendo was out there giving dev kits to anybody that wanted them, at the same time, there would be a huge flood of third-party games available for the Switch 2 right now. Now, as we've seen as what's happened so far, like 98% of the third-party games that have come out for the Switch 2 have used the game key. Like the games that come out that have a physical version, most of them have been a game key. And just maybe Nintendo saw that coming and didn't want to flood the market with hundreds and hundreds of game key cards that it knew that its fan base didn't really favor. I think that Nintendo is purposely limiting the amount of kits that they send to these third parties because they are waiting on the company that makes the carts for Switch 2 to come out with other sizes to make them available for third parties so that they don't have to use game keys if they don't want to. Now, I'm not saying that game keys was a temporary fix and that game keys were going to disappear. I think the game keys are here to stay, but Nintendo wants to give that option to games that, for instance, aren't over 60 gigs. So the games that have been coming out for the Switch 2 that are 20 gigs and 30 gigs and stuff like that. Maybe they are working on a 32 gig cart and don't want to give out dev kits to everybody and their mama until they know that those carts are available for third parties to use, because they obviously know that their fans are not a fan of these game carts, or I'm sorry, of these game keys, and that's why they had the survey that they didn't even have to keep up for more than a day because they got so many replies. So they definitely know. And I'm starting to think that there may be a correlation between these game keys and just how many dev kits that they're sending out. Now, as you can see, today's news lines up pretty much exactly with what I was saying with my theory a few months ago. But it looks like perhaps this developer or publisher may have spoke a little early, because it looks like they may have gotten clapped on by Nintendo. So it says, correction regarding Nintendo cartridge sizes. We would like to issue a correction regarding statements made earlier in relation to Nintendo cartridge storage sizes. There have been no official announcement or confirmation from Nintendo concerning cartridge storage capacities. Any references to specific storage sizes should not be interpreted as official information from Nintendo. At this time, keywords, at this time, we can only confirm that our upcoming release, R-Type Dimensions 3, will be on a physical cartridge. No further technical details regarding cartridge specifications have been officially confirmed. We apologize for any confusion this may have caused and appreciate your understanding. Kind regards. So pretty much what happened is their game was not going to ship on a full cart. They got word that there are going to be different cart sizes, which would allow them to switch on to ship on a full cart without having to pay for the 64 gig. It's going to be smaller than 64 gig, but it's still going to cost them a little bit more. So games that aren't pre-orders for this game are going to be $10 more. Now, what looks like what happened here is that they found out, or Nintendo told them, but they weren't really supposed to say yet. I guess this is something that Nintendo wanted to communicate officially, or maybe they haven't communicated this officially to other developers and don't want to look like this is like favoritism or something like that. Or maybe it's just something that Nintendo wanted to announce themselves, or whatever the reason. It looks like, and it shows that it didn't even take that long. Like, they announced this morning, and they already had to backtrack because Nintendo hit them with that clapback, because, there's already people reporting on it. And I guess this was something that wasn't supposed to be let out there. But make no mistake, it's coming. That wasn't a mistake. The only mistake made was them I guess broadcasting it on Twitter before it was supposed to be known. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comment section.